Hello, welcome to the Good Life Meditation for May 27th, 2022, a Friday, and a working Friday at that. So I'm looking forward to today. I'll talk about that in just a bit. Why? The Good Life Meditation is something that I do every morning just after I get up to remember what's important to me in terms of how I keep my life on track and making the days worthwhile and valuable in a way that I can be pleased with the course of my life, and ready to go should life come to an end, feeling that this is worthwhile for whatever that's worth. Well, I do know what it's worth. It's worth what it's worth. It's worthwhile for my family. It's worthwhile for my community. It's certainly worthwhile for my employer, and it's worthwhile for me. It's not worthwhile for anything else outside, community covers everything, right? It's not worthwhile for Pluto, I don't think. It's not worthwhile for the moons of some planet, orbiting its star in the Andromeda galaxy. But that's the great indifference, right? So that's the thing that we work hard and live well in spite of that reality. So this is very important to me, even though the universe wouldn't give a damn. So I usually do this by measuring yesterday and last night, according to my principles, seeing where the tough spots were and how I used the aforementioned Good Life Creed to, I don't know if I aforementioned it, if that's what this is. The Good Life Creed is my principles and objectives. And how did I use that to handle the challenges and the opportunities of yesterday? How did I sleep as a result? And what are the plans for today? Let's look at last night. It was a point A to point Z dreamless passage. Very good night, to be sure. I'm sure that I dreamed, but I seem to never remember my dreams. The best nights, the most restful nights, are those that pass in an instant. I was awake before the alarm, of course, but only minutes before the alarm. No thoughts of work. No imaginary thoughts of work either. I'm making up problems like I was last week. Good night's sleep. And yesterday was a good day. Good, solid day of work. Spent half the day at an all-hands event for my organization. And that was really good too. I've been in lots and lots of those over the years. And I've always gone through them kind of like in an obligatory, state of anxiousness. Very mild anxiousness. Like, okay, we're going to the all-hands meeting. It's kind of exciting. It's kind of fun. Okay, let's get a little bit of snacks. Oh, we got some goodies. Good. And then sit down and watch it, and kind of keep track of the clock and etc. Yesterday's was different. It was the first time for me that I think that I really just relaxed and enjoyed the moment. It was a lean forward event. It was well done. The executive team told us about the organization's vision and current status, and we learned more about how each part of the organization works by speeches from the heads of those divisions. And I was genuinely interested and very curious. Like I said, it was a lean forward event. I literally enjoyed every moment of it. The food was good. Caught up with friends. And then after that, I had a very good and productive meeting. I got some good work done. I said yesterday that I didn't expect myself to do a particular piece of work, 2 pieces of work, but I actually got some work done on one of those. And then I came on the way home. I stopped by and visited my brother and his kids. Boy, are they growing into good young people. And he's doing a and then came home and had a good day, good walk with the dogs, and then I had dinner with the family, good talk with Yumiko about our upcoming trip to Las Vegas. And then went to bed. So yeah, no, there was a challenge. Was it an opportunity? I remember doing something yesterday. Oh, I remember what it was. Shh, don't tell my wife. She was showing me a video. I was tired. She was showing me a video about Vegas. And it's not that I wasn't, this was after dinner. It's not that I wasn't interested necessarily. I was really tired. And it was long. And in the past, and I said, okay, Kurt, I could tell that I had to sit through this. I had to. And I said, Kurt, you can do this. You can feign the interest. Like I said, it wasn't that I wasn't genuinely interested. I was just tired, and so it's difficult for me to do anything after 8:30 p.m. and be genuinely attentive and interested and in the moment. And I did a good job. This is the second time I've pulled a fast one on her that way in the last couple of weeks, where I was normally my body language would have given away my exhaustion, but I didn't let on. I don't think I did. I don't think she figured it out. And I'm proud of myself for that. And I wasn't lying, and I wasn't being disingenuous, and I wasn't really pulling a fast one on her. I was adulting. I was recognizing that with just a little bit of effort, I can sit up straight, be attentive, be conversant, engaged, and appreciative of an effort that someone was making to share something for the benefit of both of us. So that was a real opportunity and an effort to use fortitude and temperance to live better in the moment for the benefit of all, the two of us. Okay, so that was last night and yesterday. Let's do the good life. First, my 7 objectives, which are as follows. And by objectives, that means that these are the ends that I am striving for. These are the ambitions of the 30 principles that I'll get to next. So to that end, they are, I want to be 1, always ready to die, to have my life in a settled, ready state, so that if I die this morning, if I have a heart attack right now, or whatever happens, I left my life affairs in good order. Literally my bank accounts and my work and taxes are paid, and et cetera, et cetera. And 2, my relationships are in good order. Everyone that is willing to have a relationship with me within my family, I'm on good terms with them. I don't have any foul words that I have to reconcile. Foul words, that's kind of a strong way to say it. I'm not mulling over some, upset or disappointment with relationships that I, really would like to get together with that person. If I could, before I died, if I could make amends, right? You get the idea, right? None of that. And I don't. My mom's my trickiest one, just because she doesn't seem to really want to have a relationship with me. But I do my best to call her regularly. She won't see me, so I can't see her, but I call her regularly, and to the best of my ability, I fulfill my filial duty and try to engender the warm relationship that I would like to have with her that it seems that she doesn't want to have with me. So that's in as best settled shape state as it could be as well, right? Just keep on trying. Everyone else is good too. And 3, my life's work is complete my mission, the writing of my book. Yeah. So those 3, I'm ready to go. I don't want to go, but I'm ready. Packed. As I like to say, my packs are bagged to go nowhere. packs are bagged. My bags are packed and ready to go nowhere. Number 2, the second objective is to make good and effective use of my time. It's important, not just good, but effective. So yielding some good, yielding some result that I can be proud of. Like, it's not just that I used my time yesterday to knock out my work doing my job, but the results are effective. There's a quality. They're not hollow. A quality to my efforts. They're not hollow. If I knock on the outside of the effort, I can't hear my knocks ringing inside. They're solid all the way through. And that comes of, for example, there's these ads that I see on social media now for AI that can write copy for you. And I don't know, maybe the copy's really good, but that feels like, you know, text, right? So you're going to want to write an ad or an email. You just put in a few keywords and the AI composes the message for you. That, to me, I mean, maybe the AI, I'm sure the AI will get there eventually, but it feels like it would be hollow. Like it would be, if I wanted to write an email to convey an important message to my boss, and if I just put in a few keywords and just sent whatever the hell the AI can come up with, it would feel like it would be a good use of the time, right? I did try to work, but empty and hollow. I too am able to create hollow emails by not being attentive to the detail, careful in the composition, judicious in my use of wording, vocabulary, and careful to read and edit, especially if it's important, before I send. Good and effective use of time. Next is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to live in such a way that I react well to circumstance, like I did last night. I had I reacted well to the emotions that I felt of fatigue, and to be honest, the woman that was the video that she was sharing, the woman that was narrating, it was I found her to be kind of annoying. So I was annoyed and tired. It's hard to see the message because I found the message bearer annoying. Just kind of the way it came across. So, but I reacted well. Good emotional reaction. I don't think Yumiko caught on, which is fine. Actually, it's good. It means that I'm living better. I'm living a life in better control of my living. Next is the performance of good actions, just doing good things throughout the day. And then next, number 6 is the recognition of my true limits and my true opportunity. What is and what is not within the scope of my control. For today, in that regard, I have 2 meetings today, but they're relatively straightforward. I have to do my status reports. It's a work day, as I said. It is within my scope of control to get a good start on the 2 things that I mentioned yesterday that I wasn't able to do, that I did get one of them started. That will make me feel good. I know that if I do that, I'll have a great weekend as a result. And it's a Monday off, actually. Anyway, I'm starting to move into my plan for today, but I don't mean to do that. So just true limits and true opportunity. What can I really do? What's really within the scope of my ability, and what is not? So that I'm not asking myself to do things or expecting myself to do things that I can't, or neglecting to attend to things that I can and should do. And then finally, the last objective is to do just one thing slowly, to never, ever multitask. Unless I'm trying to hop on a motorcycle while I'm running away from a charging rhino, then you can multitask. Of charging rhino. Okay, those are my 7 objectives. Now for the 30 principles. Again, these are the guides and the the rules by which I achieve the 7 objectives. Number 1 is the principle of war, which is a very sober reminder to never stop fighting against what I already believe. It's a strange thing. It's like once I've taken it on board, once I've taken an idea on board, that's when the real work of beating the crap out of it begins. That's why I read the Bible every day, right? Is because I no longer believe in God. So I've got to fight that fight. It's not a fight to confirm my disbelief. It's a fight to disprove what I've already accepted. I no longer believe in God, particularly the Christian God. So I better work really hard to understand that perspective, to read my Bible, to think about it, and to even pray. And when I do pray, I pray in earnest to know the Lord. Therefore, if I'm wrong, I'll have a chance to uncover that fact. So why so much time spent on the Christian God? Well, 2 reasons. 1, it's the God of my culture. 2, it's the God of the people around me and the people that are in my life. And if I can know my own position and understand the foundations of that belief, then I can relate better to those who do believe, and I also understand my culture better. And also, there's a 3rd reason, which is that I am a huge fan of literature, and especially old literature, and which is rife with biblical allusions. Is that right? Allusions, not illusions, but allusions. Alluding to passages in the Bible, and I love to be able to catch those passages when they go by. The principle of war, always to fight against the things that I already believe, and to fight against the things that others propose to me that I should believe that seem to be important. This doesn't apply to mundane claims. I will gladly accept that your favorite pie is apple. But if you tell me that you spotted a ghost and you want me to believe, then you'll need to provide better evidence than your own testimony. Otherwise, I'll just hold it in suspended belief. Maybe not even give a damn. There's too many other things to think about and attend to. Next is the principle of reason and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt. I want to be an honest man, particularly with myself. I want to be objective, looking at things from various perspectives, getting the true, as close as I can, measure of things. And I want to be a skeptic, doubting Thomas. Poke my fingers in the hole. Those 3 perspectives help me to see the world more readily and accurately, I think. The next principle is the homunculus, the suggestion that I don't have a soul. Well, it's really not a suggestion. It's an observation. The concept of a soul is probably the weakest position in theology, with no evidence seemingly whatsoever, or at least no good evidence that I've seen, that there's anything inside of us that survives our death. It's simply a vehicle of an idea that offers us some transmission into another world, another life after death, and allows us to rest easy despite our current problems and challenges. But there's no reason to think it's true. So I don't. Gulp. So if that's the case, what am I left with? Well, I've got my consciousness, this thing that I'm using right now to engage with the camera, and by way of this medium you. This consciousness is something real, it seems. I'm pretty convinced. I've got that. And you've got yours. The little dog snoring beside me has his. So I'll focus on that. The homunculus, the little mortal that lives inside our head. Next is the Anchorhold, a term that I borrow from, Christianity from the Middle Ages, when devoted men and women would, and men of means who had the money to do it, would have themselves walled up on the side of a church with a little hole in the church wall that they could peek through. The hole was called a squint. They could peek through and they could watch the church service. Can you imagine that being on your pew in the church in the Middle Ages? And look over and there's a little hole and there's, you see, kind of a mad eye looking out, watching the service. That person would be called an anchorite. They had anchored themselves to the church, walled in, they couldn't get out. Food passed in and out, waste passed out, water, etc. Usually by someone who they hired before they became an anchorite to do those chores. Just dwelling and thinking about God, like a monk or a nun of sorts, right? But of quite a different sort, living the rest of their lives, holed up literally at the side of a church. The Anchorhold is what they called that little retreat, the home of the anchorite. So I use the word anchorhold to describe this cage of my cranium, the skull. And I think you all feel the same way, right? I mean, your consciousness seems to be something just back here, just behind your eyes, between your ears, right, kind of right up in here in the forehead area. I don't know. Is that what it feels like for you? Picture like a little man or woman up there with levers and buttons and switches. That's the anchor. That's the homunculus, the little man or woman inside you, going about their business. The reason this is important to me is that I don't think that the homunculus can get out, can escape from the Anchorhold. It's stuck in there, and will go down with the ship of the body. That's why I add those two, to remind myself that though I don't have a soul, I do have a consciousness. That though active now, when it winks out, it will dissolve away utterly, just like the rest of me. Next comes the home of good and evil. The idea that right and wrong are a convincing opinion that we hold. Right and wrong don't exist throughout the universe. There is no 10 commandments. Well, there's 2 versions of the 10 commandments in the Bible, of course, but there is no 10 commandments permeating the stars. The large and small Magdalenic cloud do not care whether or not I covet my neighbor's goods, or his ass, or his wife, or his wife's ass, for that matter. Let's see now. Next is the principle of purpose. There are 3 purpose in my life. Number 1 is to be a good husband and father in particular. That's what marriage really is about, and for the most part, right, is family and raising our children well. Doesn't mean I don't value my life with my wife. I do, but I know that our partnership is an institution for the raising of our daughter. That's first and foremost. Number 2 is my being a good human being, a virtuous human being, a virtuous man, or virtue is defined as the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures. And then finally, my personal life mission, which has been the living of a life that would allow me. Well, I didn't set out to do this. It's just as a result of it. The adventures that I've had in my life that have allowed me to create this story, Going Alone, which is my book. And the resulting Good Life Creed, these 7 objectives and 30 principles, which the whole story is in here. And all of these Good Life Creed elements are in here as well, explained as well. And it's available on Amazon. If you want a signed copy, you can buy it off of goingalone.org. That's my 3rd purpose. And this video every day. Next is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, flowing and changing and forever transforming. So too, yes, you and me. This body of mine is transforming and kind of falling to pieces. Slow now, but it's like pushing a rock over a cliff at this point. Starts off kind of slow, just slow big tumbles, but before long it's a catapulting, unstoppable energy headed for a cataclysmic end. All of us are. Next is the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, and it's good to recognize what the nature of that is. And then maturity. No, I always skip over this one. The pirate ride. The suggestion that free will is an illusion, that we can make any choice we want, seemingly. But in the end, the choices that we make are more the result of the influences of everything around us. All of our circumstances, all of the people in our lives, all of the past history, even the temperature of the day and how our food is settling in our stomach, all has an impact on the choices that we make. And my proposition is that these things have such an impact that it's overwhelming. That our own choice is just a small little nudge along the way. So free will may not be completely absent, but largely absent. We are, as I like to say, the choices that we make are more the result of the influence of the universe around us than our own choices. And though I can't prove it, if the universe could somehow be rewound and played back exactly the same, we would always make the same choice over and over and over. That seems obvious when I say it that way. And you would say, well, it would never be the same, right? I mean, factors would be different. Even just the subatomic particles, right, or doing things differently would cause the universe to be different. Yes, that's right, which is the result of the different choices that we would make. If the universe would unwind in a different way, then we could make different choices. The mistake is thinking that that's our will that's doing that, rather than simply the consequence of how reality plays out. The next principle is maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. We are mature when we wisely remember our past successes and failures and strive to do better going forward. Then comes the social principle. We are social creatures. We need other human beings, and we do better when we're working towards the ends of society rather than just ourselves. So says the guy who wrote Going Alone. Well, the punchline of Going Alone is coming back. Next comes public speaking, a reminder to be very careful about our communication, to think about what we want to say, compose our spoken and written sentences well, using good words, good language, not fancy or show-offy vocabulary. I mean, I think it's important to cultivate an excellent vocabulary, but to have that vocabulary less for show and more for the application of reading, so that when we're reading really interesting things and good writing, we can more readily understand it without the need to fly to the dictionary every other page. Although that's exactly what needs to be done to collect and gain such a good vocabulary, is to indeed use the dictionary to study new words whenever we encounter them. Next comes temperance, a reminder to be careful to limit my consumption of everything in life. Food and drink and work and play and everything. Just moderation. After temperance comes the horror show, a reminder that life is in fact, a quite terrible place. There's a lot of good stuff too, but just awful things, great injustice, absolute, just, accidental cataclysms, and true, genuine horror of the most awful type. worthy of the the best horror flicks ever made, the type of stuff you can't watch. You have to turn away from it, or just even the imagination of it has to turn us away. And it's happening right now on the block that we live on. Every other house maybe. Maybe it's going on right now for you and me. It's happening to our pets. It's happening to the wildlife that we husband and maintain, and there wouldn't be wildlife. That would be domesticated life. The animals that we keep for our food and for our labor, to help us with our labor, and then wildlife in general. There's just just watch the unfoldings of a praying mantis at work. The next is the and I don't talk about the horror shows to be voyeuristic or because I like that kind of stuff. I just want to remember that it's happening. So I live a pretty lucky life. Things are good. I'm not experiencing any horror right now, but I want to remember that my neighbors are, that maybe some people in my family are, and that it's coming for me. And I want to be ready for it. Next comes a principle called that which must be borne with an E, carried. What we have to bear is, of course, the fact of the horror show. We also have to bear our responsibilities, particularly our adult responsibilities, particularly the ones that require us to give over half of our lives for the successful maintenance of our families and raising of our children. That's why I keep telling my daughter, she's midway through university, say, don't race too fast. After university, take some time for yourself. What's the hurry? Because once you put a ring on it, especially once you bring a kid into the world, the next half of your life is all about that. Well, the rest of your life, maybe. Next is after that which must be born comes the Feast of Offal. The reminder that it's an easy out, it's an escape valve to let off our upset and our disappointment and our frustration and our worry and anxiety into the world by having a temper tantrum. Most of us don't do that in public. Some do. I've seen it done. Well, the public is, you can see it in road rage. Road rage is a form of the Feast of Offal, the letting out of the upset. But we most often do that at home, where we kind of, exercise less control over our family. In front of our family, and sometimes they see things that we would rather, aside of ourselves, that maybe it'd be better if we kept to ourselves, especially around children. So I try not to engage in that feast by not performing it. I call it a feast because it's like you're spewing, and it's offal. Offal is the nasty stuff of the butcher's art, right? The tongue and the hair and the toenails and the gizzard. You're just going to put it into a sausage, right? So you can hide what it is. Anyway, the offal comes out when we get upset in the world. And then people they turn around to what's that guy upset about? Bleh, it goes in their mouth, and they kind of swallow it up, and it kind of soils their day. That's why I call it a feast of offal. I try not to give out that feast, and I try not to consume. So when someone might be doing it around me, I'll turn aside. When they're done, I'll offer them a towel and a hug, and someone to talk to if they want to. Thankfully, I haven't done this. I haven't been the giver of the feast for decades, but I used to be that guy. So I remind myself, because I know it's in me, to not do that. And not to consume it. Okay, next is two principles that go together. Distraction and agency in the great indifference. Distraction is the thing that we'd spend our whole lives doing, distracting ourselves with our jobs and our school and our home and our family and our sports and our hobbies and our God. We do this to keep our mind occupied so that we don't have to witness the emptiness of the universe, the great indifference, I call it, that is behind everything. It's a neat trick. You can spend your whole life doing it. And it works. Most people do. Most people don't question their beliefs. They abide them, and they hold on to them, and they build upon them. They create their own private theology, not based perhaps on scripture or canonical truth, but based on their own wish for the world, their own perspective. It's an interesting thing that our gods typically hate the same people we do, and love the same people we do, and think like we do. Fancy that. It's also interesting that MRI scans, brain scans, show that when people are thinking about what their God thinks, they're using the same part of the brain that they use when they're thinking, when they're asked to give their own opinion. We really do build our gods as a straw man of authority, to give us comfort, to distract us, to keep us from seeing the fact that the gods don't really exist. Because that's a hard life to live then, when we're on our own. Okay, next is, boy, I'm taking a lot of time this morning. Next is the best seat in the house, to not want to be anyone else, be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I am doing right now. Then the Path of Wildness, which is a way forward and up into and through new life. And then the risk of avoiding risk, the surface level risks of school and career and home and family and security, and the deep risk of finding ourselves. It's tough to do both. And then sin and damnation. There are 7 sins in my worldview. These relate to being untrue, falsity, believing things too readily, credulity, believing things for bad reasons, faith, where we believe because we say that the belief alone is the evidence for the belief. What is that? Superstition, believing nonsense, basically. What's my horoscope say? Authority, believing things because someone that has occupies an important office, has a fancy hat or an interesting title says so. Dogma, believing things because it's the blessed tradition, the canonical truth. And look at the size of that book, that leather-bound book. It must be true. And then finally, gossip, talking about others behind their back in a way that we would be embarrassed if we discovered that they were overhearing what we said. I try not to do any of those sins. That way I can live a less damned life in the here and now. It's a funny thing, though, that some of that damnation, especially believing things that may be untrue, we just kind of we can settle ourselves with. It's like being comfortable with a chair that doesn't quite have one leg that's even. And every time you sit in it, it's kind of like this. It's like, well, I can just live with this, Yeah, I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about the fact that faith is founded on its own self, which is no foundation. Faith is good. Yeah, it's not a sin. So we tell ourselves. And it won't really matter in the end, right? Well, it does. It does matter in the end, because even after we're gone back into the nothingness, those to follow have the example of our weak founded beliefs, our credulity, and our giving in as their own model. And so we perpetuate the poor state of living through another generation. Tough thing, that. I guess it is. That's why it's a sin in my worldview. Next comes complete oblivion. If we don't have a soul and there is no God, that means there's no heaven or hell, and there's no justice after we're dead, and we're not going to see anybody again, and we won't have a chance to make amends. So if we want to do all those things, reunion, reconciliation, and justice, they have to be done now, in the time that we're alive. There'll be no chance for any of that later. That's another one of the great problems of theology, is, or at least theology that's based on bad reasons. It causes us to put aside the good and hard work of life for a hereafter that will never come. But we won't even know. Okay, so Great Life, the season of that was the Complete Oblivion. Now comes the Great Life Adventure, which is one or more experiences in life that forms the story of our life, the centerpiece of our life, the thing that we did. And that's why I keep telling my daughter, I don't tell her too much. I don't want to be annoying, but just the decade from after university and starting your career, maybe 25 to 30 is a great time. It's the sweet spot for a Great Life Adventure. Some people don't want it, but if you do want it, you better do it, because that nagging thing won't go away. It'll just get worse, more insistent. And the great irony is that you can't do it later. You can't have a Great Life Adventure in your 50s or 60s. I mean, you can call it such. You can get you can do things, but it's not the same because it's too late. The clay has already set. You are the pottery that you set yourself up to become in your youth and your midlife. Now it's time for just the clay to harden and set. Now you're fragile and brittle and weak and old and falling. Sorry, you missed your chance. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy these days, but you can't have a great life, the same kind of Great Life Adventure that you could have had in your youth. It's just like you probably can't go to the Olympics when you're 50, but you might have had that chance in your 20s, maybe 30s at least. Anyway, do it young, do it hard, come back with nothing. The blessing of less, the blessing of losing it all. Having a degree and nothing else. Having a degree and an adventure and coming back broke, bleeding, and limping. What a lucky life that would be. Next comes the season of philosophy, a time to record what we've learned along the way. Keep the pen and paper ready, especially if you have a Great Life Adventure, especially if you have a couple of them early on, if you've made of your life an adventure, if you've been on the Path of Wildness. Did I skip over the Path of Wildness? I think I did. It's a way of moving forward into new life, deciding that you're done with the settled now, and you want to have a new chapter, create a new chapter. So the story of your life isn't just one long, I almost use the word dull, but I think it is kind of dull. It gets dull after a while. One long, dull sameness from start to end, punctuated by, dinners and there was a graduation and a marriage and a funeral and Easter, ho-hum. Why not want to break it up into chapters? That's like okay, let's burn it all down. The career's done. I'm going to start over in a new place, new life, new identity. Sure, I'll take my spouse and my family with me. I'm not gonna burn down the important stuff. Boy, that's why you do it young and you can do that more readily because you haven't got the family and the kids yet. Do that, and then your big book becomes a series of chapters, a fascinating drama here, romance there, intrigue wherever, great loss, the hero's tale over and over again. Sorry, I forgot to talk about that the Great Life Adventure. I mean, the Path of Wildness. It comes after the best seat in the house. But now fast forward back to the end. So the season of philosophy is what you do when you have a pen and paper ready later in life to record whatever ideas come as a result of the fascinating life that you've lived. If you haven't lived a fascinating life, then you're probably not going to have too many ideas because it's been same old all the time. Again, the consequences, right? I mean, true limits and true opportunity. We do each of us gets an opportunity in our youth to live a fascinating life. To live, and so that's why this message is really for the young. The old, we've had our chance. I've missed plenty of chances, and I recognize that. And so be it. I just do the best I can with what I got. Okay, so that was the season of philosophy. Next comes the bullseye aim, reminder that I shoot for the mark, but I usually miss. Uphill climb, climbing up in life, trudge, trudge, trudge. Again, it's, gosh, like I was telling you, Miko, the other day, once I start to have people in my life, in my current life, that I call old friends, like I had lunch 2-3 weeks ago with an old friend in my new paradigm. And I told you, Miko, that's the time, that's the key, one of the signs that it's time to go. It's time to end this particular life that we're living and start a new life. Don't want to be having old friends in my current life. I want to move on to a new life. I'll still have those friends. They'll be old friends, but they'll be old friends from a former life. Interesting dynamic there. One that I really never apprehended until this current life. Uphill climb, keep on trudging, because people stay behind. They dig into the side of the mountain like a hobbit hole, put a little door on it. And look at making flowers and that kind of thing, like a wallpaper. Okay, that's nice. I'm going back up. I'm continuing up the mountain. Let's go. Come on, Miko. So it's good to find a partner that will climb the mountain with you. That's been probably the best decision I ever made in my life. That's while I was a bit of a playboy before I met Miko. I was dating a lot, and then when I realized I found somebody that shared my restlessness, my willingness to set afire my current life and start a new life, as witnessed by the fact that she did that very thing coming to America. Then I knew I'd found my soulmate. Soulmate. I don't have a soul. What a lousy term. I found a good partner. Someone to spend my life with. Someone who could burn down worlds with me and move on. I like that. Burn down worlds. Okay, we're almost done. After the uphill climb comes nothing is enough. Just a reminder that less is fine. Get by with less. Maybe nothing is a little too much, but at least a sweater. And then finally, the principle of fun. A reminder that I've really been milking this one lately. Really been milking it. A reminder to enjoy the moment of now, this period. But then also to enjoy the hope, looking forward to the adventures to come. Even the new worlds, the new life to come, after I burn this current world down. And also to enjoy the remembrance of past lives. Not lives, in fact, but, the worlds that Miko and I have inhabited in the past. In Japan and Santa Barbara and Ojai and Arcata and Sioux City and Chiba and all the different places that we've lived. Now, future, and back. Remembering that the future one was the one that's most fraught, right? Because we have to deal with the reality, the messiness, and the horror show is here. There's not much horror in the anticipation of the future. We don't usually picture ourselves with Parkinson's disease. We usually don't remember, the fly in our Chardonnay. When we remember our wedding, we remember the niceness, right? Principle of fun, having a good time, hoping for, enjoying the hope of a future, and the pleasant remembrance of the past. I think that's probably my favorite principle. And that's it. That's my Good Life Creed for today, the 27th day of May, 2022. Now, my plan for the day. Well, like I kind of said already, I have 2 meetings today. Start of a tough period of one of my projects for the next 2 weeks. I'm ready for it. I'm going to get up now. I'll go over, read my Bible. I think it's Isaiah 52 this morning. I won't just read my Bible. I'll study my Bible. Think about it. I stand up when I read. I have my Bible reading station is a standing station because I take it very seriously. And I read the King James Version and the NIV version so I can compare the two. And I think about what I'm reading. So I'll enjoy it, and I enjoy it very much. So I'll do my Bible study. Then I'll go downstairs, I'll feed my dogs, I'll feed myself. Then I'll come upstairs, I'll change into my appropriate long-sleeved work shirt, fire up the computer, and get started in earnest today. Today's Friday on. I get to have lunch with my wife today. I think we might go to Olive Garden. I don't know. We'll see. Or maybe we'll go to someplace else. But I really look forward to it. And then after that, she and I are going to stop by Rite Aid and get our COVID shots. So hopefully it won't take us down. Oh, and then at 7:30, I need to go get that ultrasound for the thing that's going on inside me that has a little bit of worry. Could be the horror show knocking at the door. Could be, I don't know. Maybe I've got cancer. I don't think so. The doctor didn't think so either. But that's why he wanted the ultrasound, to make sure. But there's definitely something going on inside me. But, we'll see what happens. Let's see if it turns out that I do have cancer or do have something bad. Let's see how well I'll hold up in that capacity. I like to think I can handle it now. I don't know. I think it'd be quite a different thing to actually get that prognosis. Wow, the horror. The horror, as Marlon Brando said. The horror. Okay, I'll stop for now. Be safe, but not too safe.